Welcome to the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of August 12th, 2019. Every week we chat about the things parents are talking about, complaining about, and obsessing about right now. This week we're complaining about kids and tech and obsessing about our kids' safety away from home, plus taking a couple of breaks for an entertainment discussion and a recommendation roundup. I'm Catherine Haleko, and I'm here this week with Terry Morrow.
Hello.
And not Nicole Eridix. She is enjoying a wonderful vacation without us as we record this. So we have two special guests who are going to sit in for her all this week. Stacy Feintuch and Mimi Golub are the founders of Living the Second Act. Welcome, Mimi and Stacy.
Hello.
We're happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
So tell us about Living the Second Act, how you got started, what you're doing with it.
Mimi, you want to take this? You want me to?
I you know what? We're so equal in everything. You go ahead and take it, and I'll follow you then.
Okay. So I, about 3 years ago, started a blog. It was called The Widow Wears Pink. It was about my life as a young widow because my husband had passed away when I was 45 and he was 48 and I had two young children. So I started to write a blog about my life, and Mimi at the same time was editor of a different magazine, online magazine, and she reached out to me. She found my blog somehow, I'm not even sure how, and she reached out to me and asked me if I would like to write an article or two for the magazine she was editing. So I did. And nice. I don't know, we just kind of liked each other, and it was all through email, and it was all through, we never met, we never even spoke on the phone, but we just wrote back and forth a little, and we had kind of a friendly relationship. And when Mimi decided to leave where she was working, she reached out to me to let me know. And in the email, she kind of casually mentioned that she was thinking of starting something on her own. And it literally, like a light bulb went off in my head. And I said, "Do you want a partner?" And she said yes. Wow. And that's how it all started. And we decided to call it Living the Second Act because we both find that we are entering what we call our second act now with our kids growing up, and mine are just kind of entering college, and Mimi's have just graduated college. So we wanted something fresh and something new for women whose kids were getting older, but not so much always about the kids, a lot about their lives. And we have found that we have a lot of writers who write personal, real, truthful stories about themselves, and it's really resonating with people.
That is great. Yeah, I think that we noticed you all on Instagram first because we're sort of in the same position. We all have kids about that same age and, moving into different stages of parenting or wishing we could and maybe not. But, it's really nice to see that out there because there's so much for parents of young kids.
Oh, yes.
And so much advice telling you, here's how to raise your child. And it's like, well, that sounds like good advice, but too late.
Right.
Past that.
Right. I think that we kind of came of age as parents. I think I can speak for Stacy too. I don't know about the two of you. When sort of that internet advice was kind of behind us. Like it was just starting.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have anywhere to turn in those days to kind of see, oh my God, what's like if the diaper is on the wrong way. I don't know.
Yeah.
All the things they talk about on the internet. And I think it's wonderful though that now moms really can have a community because it can be very lonely,
Yeah.
And maybe you don't have family or family far away. So I really enjoy those. But like for me, what Stacy said is actually the reason why I was so drawn to Stacy is that her writing about being a young widow and her writing about her kids and really all that they were going through, to me sounded like the truth and the real. And so when Stacy and I got together, it was like a perfect fit in that we both come from, I come from like a complicated family background that I write about, and she has, the issues that she deals with of being a solo parent. So we decided that this is who we want to be. And the second act isn't just about fashion and fitness and food, which of course it is, but it's really also about women of a certain age saying, you know what, I'm hurting and things happen to me, and maybe I'm worried about my kids, and maybe I'm worried about my life, or maybe I have to downsize or money. and I want to talk about it someplace. So we need a vehicle for that. So
yeah, that is much needed because, you figure that you're going to get to a finish line with your parenting at some point, and then you can move on to the next thing and you don't have to worry about the kids anymore. And I don't know if that was ever true.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure my mother was laying down in a dark room with a wet rag over her eyes when I was in my 30s. So, but for our kids now, it's just like there's so much more trouble with getting out of the nest, and there's so many more issues with the internet and all that. There's just so many rich mining material for worry for parents that, it's good we have each other to lean on a little bit. I don't know how we would deal with all of this if we couldn't, go online and complain.
And the stories that, Mimi and I have written and our other writers have written about is a lot of things happen to you when you get into your 40s and your 50s. Yeah. And a lot of people have never spoken about these things before. Mm-hmm. And that's what we like to bring out, these stories that people have, because our tagline is everybody has a story. And it's true. Everybody really does have a story. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten such interesting stories from so many different people across the whole country. And we're hearing that people relate to that. Like, we had one woman who wrote about being an alcoholic when her kids were little. And, she's a suburban, attractive, nice mom, like your average everyday person that you see on the street. And she had this horrible, horrible secret, and she wrote about it, and she got such a reaction from people that they had gone through the whole thing and they didn't talk about it and nobody knew. And it really is bringing out conversation.
Yeah, that's great to have that opportunity. And it's wonderful that you're able to share that for people and give them a place to get that out there, and where other people can read it and say, hey, I'm not the only one.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be a safe space.
Right.
And interestingly enough, we have had submissions from men, and Stacy can talk a little bit about that, about being widow. There's a man that writes for us who's a widow, and he writes about dating, right, Stacy? And
yes, he's I kind of sort of know him, and he reached out to me and he said, I've seen all these women writing about dating and being single and this and that. What about a man's perspective? And I was like, absolutely. Yeah. And his stuff has been some of our most popular. He's a widower, and he really writes from the heart and how he would like to find somebody, and it's real. And I think so many women have reacted to it that I've gotten phone calls that people want to be set up with him.
Wow.
I'm like, Mimi and I are going to start a dating service.
Right. This was not our first plan, but hey.
We're flexible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We are always thinking of great business ideas on our podcast as we discuss some of these issues. So
yes,
that's definitely one that would be helpful.
Yeah, it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 people reach out to me. Oh, that guy, what do you think of him? It is very funny.
Also, we live in this like virtual community, obviously. It's so wonderful. Like, Stacy lives in New Jersey and I live in Boston. And we live in this virtual community, which can be incredibly lonely.
Yeah.
You think you're the only one, especially when kids leave the nest. You think you're the only one who's struggling with X, Y, or Z, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And we need to provide, it sounds like what you're doing too with the podcast, is we need to provide safe spaces for women and, people our age to feel like they're not alone.
Well, I remember when Nicole's older child went to college, and even though he was really close by, her saying to our other former podcaster, like, why didn't you tell me? This is really hard, but I didn't know that it was going to be like this. And, she needed that support and that, like, talking to someone who'd been there.
Right.
She really needed to hear that.
That's always important.
Yeah. The internet gets such a bad rap about, putting people against each other and creating all sorts of problems, social problems, interpersonal problems, but it can also be just such a powerful way to, for people who don't have anybody living near them who are experiencing their same things to find each other. I remember even way back in the 90s before there was social media, I was on a email list for parents who adopted kids from Eastern Europe. And that was just an incredible lifeline because, your adoption agency would say, good luck. And they would not tell you, hey, here, attachment problems might be a thing. Or, your child's school might have no idea how to handle your child. Good luck with that. And to find this group of parents who were all going through exactly the same thing, and we could compare notes and we could say, my school's doing this, my school's doing that, my kid does this, does your kid do that? Hey, I found this behavioral thing that works, was incredible. And now, of course, since it's exploded, if it was now, it would be a Facebook group. Back then it was email, which seems so archaic.
Right.
How we went through it that way. But, it's evolved, and now we have, websites and blogs and podcasts and all these different places to find your tribe. And it's in many ways a blessing, although it can, of course, also be a curse.
Right. It depends how you use it.
Yes.
It really does. It depends what your attitude is and how you go about using the social media and the websites and the blogs and everything else. It depends who you're reaching out to, who your friends are, who your audience is. It just depends. And I think if you're putting out positive vibes and positive things, I think that kind of comes back to you, which is what you guys are definitely doing and what Mimi and I are doing.
Yeah, we try. So hopefully we'll be getting good vibes back from everybody who's listening and reading and sharing. It's good to hope for. And that will be it for today's round 1. Tune in tomorrow for our entertainment-themed round 2, and later in the week to find out what we're complaining about, obsessing about, and recommending right now. Happily, Mimi and Stacy will be with us for those last 3 episodes of the week, and we look forward to talking to them more because this was fun. You can find all our episodes on parentingroundabout.com and talk back in the comments there, on our Facebook page, or on Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat. You can find Mimi and Stacy at livingthesecondact.com and also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Living the Second Act.